One piece of pie, one moment of kindness, one conversation that would save companies worth billions and change thousands of lives forever. When 28-year-old Keisha Washington served a sad stranger at a late-night diner in Austin, Texas, she had no idea she was about to help the richest man in the world. She didn't know that her simple act of compassion would cost her everything she had worked for. And she definitely didn't know that losing her job would be the best thing that ever happened to her. This is the true story of how a struggling waitress's kindness to Elon Musk created a ripple effect that spread across the globe. It's about what happens when doing the right thing gets you fired, and how sometimes the universe has bigger plans than we can imagine. But first, it all started with the worst night of two people's lives, and a decision that would change everything. The clock on the wall at Rosie's Diner showed 11:47 p.m. Keisha Washington wiped down the last clean table and sighed. Her feet hurt from standing for 10 hours straight. Her back ached from carrying heavy plates all day. But she couldn't complain. This job was everything to her right now. Just one more hour, she whispered to herself. Then I can go home and study. Keisha was 28 years old, but she felt much older tonight. Working at Rosie's Diner in Austin, Texas wasn't her dream job. She wanted to be a nurse. Every night after work, she studied her nursing books at Austin Community College. Every paycheck went to school fees and sending money home to Detroit for her sick mother. The diner sat just 2 miles from Tesla's big factory. During the day, Tesla workers came in for lunch. At night, it was mostly truck drivers and people traveling through Austin. Tonight was different. Tonight was quiet. Too quiet. Keisha looked around the empty diner. The red vinyl booths were all clean. The black and white checkered floor was mopped. The coffee machine was turned off. She was ready to close up when she heard the front doorbell ring. Ding! A man walked in alone. He wore a simple black hoodie and dark jeans. Nothing fancy. He looked tired and sad. His shoulders were bent down like he was carrying something heavy. He sat in the corner booth, the one farthest from the door. Keisha grabbed her order pad and walked over. "Good evening, sir. What can I get you tonight?" The man looked up at her. His eyes were red and watery. For a second, Keisha thought he looked familiar, like she'd seen his face somewhere before, but she couldn't remember where. "Just coffee, please," he said quietly, "and maybe some pie if you have any left." "We have apple pie. It's fresh from this morning." "That sounds perfect." Keisha walked back to get his order. She poured hot coffee into a white mug and cut a big slice of apple pie. When she brought it to his table, she noticed he was staring at his phone. His hands were shaking a little. "Here you go, sir. Enjoy." "Thank you," he said, without looking up. Keisha started to walk away, but something stopped her. The man looked so sad, so alone. She'd seen that look before. It was the same look she had when her father died 3 years ago, the look of someone whose heart was broken. She turned around and walked back to his table. "Are you okay, sir? You look like you're having a rough night." The man looked up, surprised. Most waitresses didn't ask personal questions. Most people didn't care about strangers. But something in Keisha's voice was different. It was warm, kind, real. He started, then stopped. He looked around the empty diner. "I just lost someone very important to me." Keisha felt her heart squeeze. Without thinking, she slid into the booth across from him. She knew she wasn't supposed to sit with customers. Her boss, Mr. Morrison, had rules about that. But this man needed someone to talk to. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said softly. "Do you want to talk about it?" The man was quiet for a long moment. He took a sip of coffee, then looked at Keisha. "My dog," he said. His name was Floki. He died yesterday. Tears started to fill his eyes. I know that sounds silly. It's just a dog, right? But he was with me through everything. My divorce, business problems, lonely nights when I couldn't sleep. He was my best friend. Keisha's own eyes got watery. It doesn't sound silly at all. I lost my dog last year, a golden retriever named Buddy. I still miss him every day. Really? The man asked. You understand? Of course I do. Dogs aren't just pets. They're family. They love us no matter what. When we lose them, it feels like losing a piece of our heart. The man nodded. Exactly. Floki was a Shiba Inu. He was stubborn and funny and perfect. He used to sleep on my bed every night. Last night was the first night in 7 years that I slept alone. They talked for the next hour. The man told her about Floki's favorite toys and how he loved to chase squirrels. Keisha told him about Buddy and how he used to bring her shoes every morning. They laughed and cried together like old friends. The man never said his name, and Keisha didn't ask. Sometimes strangers just need someone to listen. That was enough. You know what? Keisha said, standing up. This pie is on me tonight, and let me get you another slice to take home. You don't have to do that, the man said. I want to. Sometimes we all need a little kindness, especially on the hard days. Keisha went to the kitchen and cut another big slice of apple pie. She put it in a to-go box with a plastic fork. When she came back, the man was putting on his jacket. How much do I owe you? He asked. Just for the coffee. The pie is free. Are you sure? I don't want you to get in trouble with your boss. Keisha smiled. Don't worry about it. What's one piece of pie between friends? The man reached into his wallet and pulled out some bills. He left them on the table without counting. Thank you, he said. You have no idea how much this meant to me. I was having the worst day of my life, and you made it better. That's what people are supposed to do for each other, Keisha said. Take care of yourself, okay? And remember the good times with Floki. That's what he would want. The man smiled for the first time all night. You're right. Thank you, Keisha. He looked at her name tag. You're an angel. He walked toward the door, then turned back. The world needs more people like you. After he left, Keisha cleared his table. When she picked up the money, her eyes went wide. There were 5 $100 bills. $500. That was more than she made in 2 weeks. Keisha looked out the window, but the man was already gone. His car had driven away into the dark Texas night. She stood there holding the money, wondering who he was. Why had he given her such a big tip? She folded the bills carefully and put them in her pocket. This money would help pay for her mother's medicine. It would help with her school books. It was like a miracle on a night when she really needed one. As you are, Keisha locked up the diner and walked to her old car. She thought about the sad man in the black hoodie. She hoped he would be okay. She hoped he would find peace after losing his best friend. She had no idea that helping this stranger would change her life forever. She had no idea that in 24 hours she would lose her job because of this moment of kindness. And she definitely had no idea that the man she helped was one of the most famous people in the world. All Keisha knew was that she had done the right thing. She had treated another human being with love and respect. In her heart, that was always worth it, no matter what happened next. The night air was cold as she drove home to her small apartment. Tomorrow was another day, another chance to work hard and help people. and chase her dreams of becoming a nurse. Keisha Washington had no idea that tomorrow would be the day that changed everything. The next morning, Keisha woke up feeling better than she had in weeks. The $500 tip sat on her kitchen table like a small miracle. She could pay her rent on time. She could send money to her mother for her heart medicine. She could even buy new nursing textbooks. Keisha got dressed in her uniform: black pants, white shirt, and the red apron with Rosie's Diner written across the front. She braided her hair back and put on her comfortable shoes. Today felt like a good day. The drive to work was beautiful. The Texas sun was shining. The radio played her favorite song. Keisha even stopped to buy coffee for herself, something she usually couldn't afford. Life was looking up. She pulled into the parking lot at Rosie's Diner at exactly 7 a.m. Her shift started at 7:30, but she always came early to help set up. That's the kind of worker she was: reliable, caring, hardworking. But something was wrong. As soon as she walked through the back door, Mr. Frank Morrison was waiting for her. Her boss stood by the coffee machine with his arms crossed. His face was red with anger. Morrison was a big man with gray hair and mean eyes. He owned 3 diners in Austin and was known for being tough on his workers. "Keisha," he said in a cold voice, "we need to talk, now." Keisha's good mood disappeared. "Yes, sir. What's wrong?" "Come to my office." Morrison's office was tiny and messy. Papers covered his desk. The walls had pictures of his 3 diners and some awards for Best Breakfast in Austin. Keisha had only been in this office twice before, when she got hired and when she asked for time off for her mother's surgery. Morrison sat behind his desk. He didn't ask Keisha to sit down. "Do you want to explain what happened last night?" he asked. "What do you mean, sir?" Morrison turned his computer screen toward her. On it was black and white security camera footage from the diner. Keisha could see herself sitting in the booth with the man in the black hoodie. She watched herself bring him free pie and talk with him for an hour. "You gave away free food," Morrison said. "You sat with a customer during work hours. You basically stole from me." Keisha's heart started beating fast. "Mr. Morrison, I can explain." The man was very upset. He had just lost his dog. "I was just being kind." "I don't pay you to be kind," Morrison shouted. "I pay you to serve food and clean tables. That's it." "But sir," he left a huge tip. He was happy with the service. Morrison slammed his hand on the desk. "I don't care if he left $1 million. You broke the rules. You gave away my food without permission. You sat down during work time. That's stealing." Keisha felt tears starting in her eyes. "It was just one piece of pie, Mr. Morrison." The TT man was crying. "I couldn't just ignore him." "Yes, you could have. That's your job. Serve the food. Take the money. Move on to the next customer." "Please, sir. I've worked here for 3 years. I've never been in trouble before. Can't you give me another chance?" Morrison stood up from his chair. "No, I've made my decision. You're fired, Keisha. Clear out your locker and leave." The words hit Keisha like a punch in the stomach. "Fired? Mr. Morrison, please. I need this job. My mother is sick. I'm in nursing school. I can't lose this job. You should have thought about that before you decided to play therapist with some stranger." "But I was helping someone who was hurting." "That's not your job," Morrison yelled. "Your job was to make me money. Instead, you cost me money." "You're done," Keisha begged. She pleaded. She explained about her mother's medical bills and her school tuition. She promised to never sit with a customer again. She offered to pay for the pie herself. Morrison didn't care. His mind was made up. "Security will walk you out," he said. Get your things and go." Keisha walked to the employee break room in shock. Her hands were shaking as she opened her small locker. Inside were her extra uniform, some snacks, and a picture of her mother. She put everything in a plastic bag. Her co-worker, Maria Santos, came over. Maria was a nice woman with 2 kids who had worked at Rosie's for 5 years. "What's happening?" Maria whispered. "Morrison fired me," Keisha said quietly, "for helping a customer last night." "What? That's crazy. You're the best worker we have." "He says I stole food and wasted time." Maria looked around to make sure Morrison couldn't hear them. "Keisha, did you see the news this morning?" "No. Why?" Maria pulled out her phone and showed Keisha the screen. It was a news article with a big headline: "Elon Musk's dog, Floki, dies after long illness." Below the headline was a picture of Elon Musk holding a small brown and white dog. Keisha's eyes went wide. It was the same man from last night. The sad stranger in the black hoodie was Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. "Oh my God," Keisha whispered. "You helped Elon Musk last night," Maria said, "and Morrison fired you for it." Keisha stared at the phone screen. The article talked about how much Elon loved his dog, how Floki had been with him for 7 years, how he was heartbroken by the loss. "I had no idea," Keisha said. "Girl, you helped a billionaire, and your boss fired you for showing kindness. This is so wrong." The security guard came over. "Time to go, miss." Keisha hugged Maria goodbye. "Take care of yourself," she said. "You too, honey. You did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you different." The security guard walked Keisha to the front door of the diner. Morrison watched from behind the counter with no emotion on his face. The other workers looked sad and angry. Everyone liked Keisha. Everyone thought this was unfair. As Keisha walked to her car, she felt like her world was falling apart. 3 years of good work meant nothing. One act of kindness had cost her everything. She sat in her car and started to cry. How would she pay her rent? How would she help her mother? How would she pay for nursing school? All her dreams felt impossible now. The worst part was that she didn't regret helping the man, helping Elon Musk. He was hurting, and she did what felt right. She treated him like a human being, not like a famous billionaire. But being right didn't pay the bills. Being kind didn't keep her in school. Being good didn't protect her from mean bosses who cared more about money than people. Keisha drove home with tears running down her face. She had helped one of the most powerful men in the world, and now she had nothing. Keisha's apartment felt smaller than ever when she walked through the door. The one-bedroom place in East Austin wasn't much, but it was home. Now she might lose it too. She threw her work bag on the kitchen table and looked around. Bills were stacked on the counter. Her nursing textbook sat on the couch where she studied every night. A picture of her mother smiled at her from the refrigerator. Everything reminded her of what she might lose. Keisha sat on her old couch and put her head in her hands. The $500 tip from last night felt like a cruel joke now. It was good money, but it wouldn't last long. Her rent was $800 a month. It was due in 5 days. Her phone rang. The caller ID said, "Mom." "Hi, baby," her mother Dorothy said in her warm voice. "How was work today?" Keisha almost started crying. Again. She didn't want to worry her mother, but she couldn't lie. "Mom, I lost my job today." "What? Why?" Keisha told her the whole story. About the sad man who lost his dog. About sitting with him and giving him free pie. about Morrison firing her for being kind. And then I found out, Keisha said. The man was Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. Dorothy was quiet for a moment. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to do, Mom. I can't pay rent. I can't help with your medicine. I might have to quit nursing school. Listen to me, Keisha Washington, her mother said firmly. You did the right thing. You saw someone hurting and you helped them. That's who you are. That's who I raised you to be. But now I have nothing. You have your heart. You have your soul. You have your dreams. Those are things nobody can take away from you. Keisha wiped her eyes. I just feel so lost, Mom. Baby, good things happen to good people. It might not feel like it right now, but I believe it. Your kindness will come back to you. After they hung up, Keisha sat in the quiet apartment. She opened her laptop and started looking for jobs. She applied to other restaurants, grocery stores, and gas stations. Anything that was hiring. Most places wanted experience she didn't have. Others paid less than Rosie's Diner. Some were too far away. After 2 hours of applications, only 3 places looked possible, and none of them would start her right away. Keisha's best friend Jasmine knocked on the door around 6 p.m. Jasmine worked at a hair salon and had known Keisha since high school. She came in carrying grocery bags. Girl, I heard what happened, Jasmine said, giving Keisha a big hug. Maria called me. I brought you some food. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. That's what friends are for. Jasmine unpacked the bags. There was bread, peanut butter, milk, eggs, and some frozen dinners. Not fancy food, but it would keep Keisha fed for a week. I can't believe Morrison fired you for helping someone, Jasmine said. That man has no heart. The worst part is, I don't regret it, Keisha said. Elon Musk was crying about his dog. I couldn't just ignore that. Of course you couldn't. You're not that kind of person. They sat on the couch together. Jasmine painted Keisha's nails while they talked. It was something they used to do in high school when they were stressed about tests or boys. What are you going to do? Jasmine asked. I don't know. I applied for some jobs today, but nobody's hiring right away. I need to work soon, or I'll lose everything. What about your nursing program? Keisha's eyes filled with tears again. I don't know if I can afford it anymore. Tuition is due next week. Without a job, I can't pay it. Don't give up on that dream, Keisha. You've wanted to be a nurse since we were kids. I know, but dreams don't pay bills. They ordered pizza for dinner and watched old movies. Jasmine tried to keep Keisha's spirits up, but it was hard. Every few minutes, Keisha would remember something else she couldn't afford. Her car payment, her phone bill, her mother's medicine. I should call my mom again, Keisha said, around 9 p.m. She needs money for her heart pills. How much does she need? $300. I was going to use some of that tip money, but now I need it for rent. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. I have some money saved up. I can help. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Your mom helped raise me too, remember? She needs her medicine. Keisha started crying again, but this time it wasn't just sadness. It was also love. Even when everything was falling apart, good people still cared about her. Thank you, she whispered. After Jasmine left, Keisha sat alone with her thoughts. She looked at her nursing textbooks and wondered if she'd ever use them. She looked at the bills on her table and wondered how she'd pay them. Most of all, she thought about that moment in the diner. The moment when she decided to sit with a stranger and listen to his pain. It seemed so simple then. Now it felt like the most expensive decision of her life. But even sitting here, broke and scared, Keisha knew she would do it again. She couldn't change who she was. She couldn't stop caring about people just because it was dangerous. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "I'm proud of you, baby. Good things are coming. I can feel it." Keisha smiled through her tears. Her mother always knew what to say. Even when things looked impossible, Dorothy Washington had faith. Keisha went to bed that night wondering what tomorrow would bring. She had 3 job interviews scheduled for the next day. Maybe one of them would work out. Maybe she could find a way to keep her dreams alive. She fell asleep on her couch, still wearing her work clothes from the diner. The uniform that used to represent her job now just reminded her of everything she'd lost. Outside her window, Austin slept peacefully. Cars drove past on their way to somewhere important. People went about their lives, not knowing that a kind waitress was fighting to keep her world from falling apart. Keisha Washington had no idea that tomorrow would bring the biggest surprise of her life. She had no idea that her act of kindness was about to change everything in ways she couldn't imagine. All she knew was that she was tired, scared, and alone. But she was still the same person who sat with a crying stranger in a diner. She was still someone who chose love over fear, even when it cost her everything. That had to count for something. The next morning, Keisha woke up to loud knocking on her apartment door. She had fallen asleep on the couch in her work clothes. Her neck hurt and her eyes were puffy from crying. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was urgent but polite. Keisha looked at her phone. It was 9:30 a.m. She wasn't expecting anyone. She walked to the door and looked through the peephole. A woman in a nice business suit stood outside. She was Asian, maybe 30 years old, and carried a leather bag and an iPad. Keisha had never seen her before. "Who is it?" Keisha called through the door. "My name is Sarah Chen. I work for Elon Musk. Are you Keisha Washington?" Keisha's heart stopped. "Elon Musk? Why would someone from Elon Musk want to talk to her?" "Yes, I'm Keisha." "What do you want?" "Mr. Musk would like to speak with you. May I come in? I have something important to discuss." Keisha's mind was racing. This had to be some kind of mistake. Or maybe it was a scam. People pretended to work for famous people all the time to trick others. "How do I know you really work for him?" Keisha asked. Sarah held up her phone to the peephole. On the screen was a picture of her and Elon Musk standing in front of a Tesla car. They were both smiling and giving thumbs up. "I'm his personal assistant," Sarah said. "I promise I'm real." "And I promise this is important." Keisha unlocked the door but kept the chain on. She opened it just a crack to look at Sarah better. The woman seemed nice and professional. She didn't look like a criminal. "What does Elon Musk want with me?" Keisha asked. "That's what I'm here to explain. Please, may I come in? This isn't something I can discuss in a hallway." Keisha took a deep breath and opened the door. Sarah Chen stepped inside and looked around the small apartment. She didn't seem to judge the old furniture or the bills on the table. She just smiled kindly. "Please, sit down," Keisha said, pointing to the couch. "Can I get you some coffee or water?" "No, thank you, but you might want to sit down for this conversation." They both sat on the couch. Sarah opened her iPad and showed Keisha a video. It was security camera footage from Rosie's diner. Black and white video of Keisha sitting with Elon Musk, bringing him pie, and talking with him. "Mr. Musk saw this footage," Sarah said. "Your former boss posted it online yesterday. He was trying to make you look bad for giving away free food." Keisha felt sick. "Morrison put that online?" "Yes. He posted it on social media with angry comments. about workers who steal from their bosses. But it didn't work the way he planned. Sarah swiped to show Keisha the comments under the video. There were thousands of them. People were angry at Morrison, not at Keisha. "Look at what people are saying," Sarah said. Keisha read the comments. "This waitress is an angel. Fire the boss, not her." She showed kindness to someone who was hurting. "That's beautiful. Morrison is heartless. I'll never eat at his diners again." This woman deserves a medal, not unemployment. There were hundreds more comments just like these. People all over the world had seen the video and were on Keisha's side. "Mr. Musk was deeply moved by your compassion," Sarah continued. "He wants to make things right." Sarah reached into her leather bag and pulled out a white envelope. She handed it to Keisha with both hands, like it was something precious. "What is this?" Keisha asked. "Open it." Keisha's hands were shaking as she opened the envelope. Inside was a check, a real bank check with her name on it. The amount made her gasp. $50,000. "This can't be real," Keisha whispered. "It's very real. But that's not all." Sarah pulled out some papers from her bag. "Mr. Musk would like to offer you a job at Tesla. You'd work in the employee cafeteria at the Gigafactory. The pay is twice what you made at Rosie's Diner. Full health, insurance, and the company will pay for your nursing school." Keisha stared at the papers. This felt like a dream. An impossible, wonderful dream. "I don't understand," she said. "Why is he doing this? I just gave him pie and listened to him talk." Sarah smiled. That night, Mr. Musk had lost his beloved dog and was feeling very alone. He went to that diner not knowing what to expect. What he found was someone who saw his pain and chose to help. You didn't know who he was or how much money he had. You just saw another human being who was hurting. Sarah leaned forward. "Mr. Musk told me something yesterday. He said that night he was questioning whether people still cared about each other, whether kindness still existed in the world. You gave him the answer." Keisha's eyes filled with tears. "But I lost my job because of it. And that's exactly why. Mr. Musk wants to help you. He says what happened to you is wrong. You shouldn't be punished for having a good heart." Sarah showed Keisha more papers. "The job at Tesla starts Monday if you want it. The pay is $20 an hour, plus benefits. Your nursing school tuition will be paid directly to Austin Community College." "This is too much," Keisha said. "I can't accept all this." "Mr. Musk hoped you might say that. He told me to tell you something if you did." Sarah looked directly into Keisha's eyes. "He said that night, you restored his faith in humanity. You reminded him why he works so hard to build companies and create jobs. You showed him that good people still exist. He says that's worth more than any amount of money." Keisha was crying now. Happy tears this time. "Are you serious? This is really happening?" "It's really happening. But there's one more thing." Sarah opened her iPad again and showed Keisha a website. "Mr. Musk is starting a new foundation. It's called the Floki Foundation for Human Kindness. It will help working people pay for education, medical bills, and emergencies." The website had pictures of families and workers, people who looked just like Keisha and her mother, regular people who needed help. "He wants you to be part of it," Sarah said, "to help decide who gets assistance. He says you have something special, the ability to see people's hearts." Keisha couldn't speak. She held the check in one hand and the job offer in the other. Yesterday, she had nothing. Today, she had everything she'd dreamed of and more. "I need to call my mother," she finally said. "Of course, Take all the time you need. But Mr. Musk would like to meet with you personally tomorrow to discuss the foundation. Are you available? Keisha laughed through her tears. I think my schedule just opened up. Sarah stood up to leave. One more thing, Keisha. Mr. Musk asked me to tell you that you didn't just help him that night. You changed him. And now he wants to change the world with the same kindness you showed him. After Sarah left, Keisha sat alone in her apartment holding the check. $50,000. A good job. Free nursing school. A chance to help other people through the foundation. 24 hours ago, she was broke and hopeless. Now she had more opportunities than she'd ever imagined. She picked up her phone to call her mother. Dorothy was going to cry happy tears. She was going to say, I told you so, about good things happening to good people. As Keisha dialed the number, she thought about that moment in the diner, sitting with a stranger, listening to his pain, choosing kindness over rules. It was the most expensive piece of pie in history, and it was worth every penny. 3 weeks later, Keisha walked through the doors of Tesla's Gigafactory for her first day of work. The building was huge and bright, nothing like the small, dark diner where she used to work. Everything was clean and modern. The workers looked happy. Keisha wore her new uniform, a crisp blue shirt with the Tesla logo and comfortable black pants. She felt proud walking through the halls. She belonged here. The employee cafeteria was amazing. Large windows let in sunshine. The tables were new and clean. The kitchen had the latest equipment. Most importantly, the workers were treated with respect. You must be Keisha, said Janet Miller, the cafeteria manager. Janet was a kind woman in her 50s who had worked at Tesla for 8 years. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Mr. Musk told me about what happened at your old job. I want you to know that here at Tesla, we value kindness. We want our employees to care about each other. Keisha spent her first week learning the job. She served food to engineers, factory workers, and office staff. Everyone was friendly. No one yelled at her or treated her badly. It felt like a different world. The pay was incredible. $20 an hour was more money than Keisha had ever made. The health insurance meant she could finally go to the doctor herself. And knowing her nursing school was paid for made her feel like she could breathe again. On Friday of her first week, something special happened. Keisha, Janet said, Mr. Musk is here for lunch. He'd like to speak with you. Keisha's heart started beating fast. She had only seen Elon Musk once since that night at the diner, and that was at their meeting about the foundation. Now he was here, wanting to talk to her at work. She found him sitting alone at a table in the corner of the cafeteria. He was eating a simple sandwich and reading something on his phone. He looked up when she approached and smiled. Keisha, please, sit down. How's your first week going? She sat across from him, just like that night at Rosie's diner. But this time, everything was different. This time, she knew who he was. This time, her life was getting better instead of falling apart. It's been wonderful, Mr. Musk. Everyone here is so nice. Thank you again for this opportunity. Please, call me Elon. And you don't need to thank me. You earned this. They talked for a few minutes about her work and her nursing classes. Then, Elon's face got more serious. Keisha, I want to tell you something I've never told anyone else. She leaned forward to listen. That night at the diner wasn't just sad because I lost Floki. It was one of the darkest nights of my life, for another reason. Elon looked out the window at the factory floor, where hundreds of people were building electric cars. I was ready to give up. he said quietly. On everything. Tesla, SpaceX, all of it. I felt like I was just making rich people richer and wasn't really helping humanity. Keisha's eyes widened. You were going to quit? I was thinking about it. I felt disconnected from why I started these companies. I wanted to help people and protect the planet. But I felt like I'd lost my way. Elon turned back to look at her. Then a waitress sat down with me. She didn't know who I was or how much money I had. She just saw someone who was hurting and decided to help. In that moment, you reminded me what humanity looks like. Keisha felt tears in her eyes. I had no idea. That's exactly why it mattered so much. Your kindness was real. It wasn't because you wanted something from me. It was just because that's who you are. Elon leaned forward. You saved more than just my mood that night, Keisha. You saved my faith in people. And that's why I need your help with something bigger. He pulled out his phone and showed her pictures of the Floki Foundation website. It had grown since she last saw it. There were stories of families they had already helped. Pictures of people smiling and hugging. We've helped 50 families in just 3 weeks, Elon said. Single mothers paying for their kids' medical bills, factory workers going back to school, elderly people getting their medicine. The stories were beautiful and heartbreaking. A father whose daughter needed surgery, a grandmother who couldn't afford her diabetes medication, a young man trying to learn computers to get a better job. But we need someone to help us choose. Who to help? Elon continued. Someone who understands what it's like to struggle. Someone who can see people's hearts. You want me to work for the foundation? I want you to help run it. Part-time while you finish nursing school. You'd interview people who apply for help. You'd visit families and see what they really need. You'd help us make sure our money goes to people who truly deserve it. Keisha was quiet for a long moment. This was bigger than anything she had ever imagined. But I don't know anything about running a foundation. You know the most important thing, how to care about people. I can teach you the business part, but I can't teach someone to have your heart. Elon showed her more pictures on his phone. We want to open centers in 20 cities, places where people can come for help without feeling ashamed. We want to help 1,000 families this year, 10,000 next year. That's amazing. It all started because you saw someone crying and decided to help. Now we can help thousands of people because of that one moment of kindness. Keisha thought about her mother, who still struggled to pay for her heart medicine even with Keisha's help. She thought about Maria, her old co-worker at Rosie's Diner, who had 2 kids and never enough money. She thought about all the people she had served over the years who looked tired and worried about money. What would I have to do? She asked. Come in a few hours a week after your shift here. Read applications from people who need help. Sometimes visit families to understand their situations. Help us decide who gets assistance and how much. And I could still finish nursing school? That's the most important part. I want you to become a nurse. The foundation will be better with someone who understands medicine and caring for people. Keisha smiled. When do I start? How about Monday? They shook hands across the table. As they did, Keisha realized something incredible. 6 months ago, she was just a waitress trying to survive. Now she was going to help change the world. Elon, can I ask you something? Of course. Why is this foundation so important to you? You could help people in lots of other ways. Elon was quiet for a moment. Because you taught me that the most powerful thing in the world isn't money or technology. It's one person choosing to care about another person. That's what changes everything. 40 år. stood up to leave. "Oh, and Keisha, your first assignment is to help someone close to home. I know your co-worker Maria at the old diner has a son who needs surgery. The foundation wants to pay for it." Keisha's mouth fell open. "How did you know about that?" Elon smiled. "Good news travels fast. Just like kindness." After he left, Keisha sat alone in the bright, clean cafeteria. 6 months ago, she was washing dishes and hoping for tips. Now she was about to help run a foundation that would change thousands of lives, all because she chose to sit with a stranger and listen to his pain. She pulled out her phone to call Maria with the incredible news about her son's surgery. Then she would call her mother and tell her about the foundation work. Life was good, better than good. Life was becoming everything she had ever dreamed of and more. The most expensive piece of pie in history was still paying dividends. 6 months later, Keisha sat in her new office at the Floki Foundation building in downtown Austin. The office wasn't fancy, but it was hers. A desk, 2 chairs, and a window that looked out at the Texas state capitol. On her wall hung pictures of families the foundation had helped. Every day brought new stories. Every day brought new chances to change lives. Keisha had learned so much in these months. How to read financial documents. How to spot real need from fake stories. How to help people without making them feel ashamed. Most importantly, she had learned that kindness could be organized and multiplied. Her phone rang. It was the front desk. "Keisha, there's a woman here to see you. She says her name is Maria Santos." Keisha's heart jumped. Maria from Rosie's Diner. "Send her up, please." A few minutes later, Maria walked into the office. She looked different, happy, relaxed. Her son Diego was with her. The 8-year-old boy was running around, full of energy. "Keisha," Maria said, giving her a huge hug. "Look at this place. Look at you." "Look at Diego," Keisha said, smiling at the boy. "How is he feeling?" "Perfect. The surgery worked perfectly. The doctors say his heart is completely fixed." 6 months. Diego had been sick with a heart problem. He couldn't run or play like other kids. Maria worked 2 jobs but still couldn't afford the surgery he needed. Then the Floki Foundation stepped in. The doctors at Dell Children's Hospital were amazing, Maria continued. They said Diego's case was tricky, but they fixed everything. He can play soccer now. He can run and jump and be a normal kid. Diego tugged on Keisha's shirt. "Miss Keisha, want to see me do a cartwheel?" Of course. Diego did 3 cartwheels in a row, then jumped up with his arms in the air. "Ta-da!" "That's amazing, Diego. You're so strong now." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know how to thank you, Keisha. The foundation paid for everything. The surgery, the hospital stay, the medicine. Over $80,000. I could never have afforded that. You don't need to thank me. That's what the foundation is for. But I know you chose to help us. Out of all the people who needed help, you picked my family." Keisha sat down at her desk and pulled out a thick folder. "Maria, let me show you something." The folder was full of stories, pictures of families and their thank you letters. "This is Rebecca Johnson," Keisha said, showing Maria a picture of a young black woman in a graduation cap. "She's a single mother of 3. The foundation paid for her to go to trade school. Now she's an electrician making $25 an hour." She flipped to another page. "This is Mr. Chen. He's 67 years old and couldn't afford his diabetes medicine. The foundation pays for it now. His blood sugar is under control for the first time in years." Page after page of stories. A family whose house was saved from foreclosure. A teenager who got help paying for college, an elderly woman who needed a new roof. We've helped 500 families so far, Keisha said. Each story is different, but they all start the same way. Someone needed help, and no one else was listening. Maria wiped her eyes. How do you choose who to help? There must be so many people who need it. That's the hardest part of my job. We get hundreds of applications every week. I have to read each one and decide who needs help the most. Keisha pulled out some recent applications. She had learned to read between the lines, to spot the people who were truly desperate versus those who just wanted free money. This woman has 3 kids and just lost her job, Keisha said, pointing to one application. Her husband left last month. She's about to be evicted. She needs help with rent while she looks for work. This man has cancer, she said, showing another application. His insurance won't pay for the treatment he needs. He's choosing between medicine and keeping his house. And this family, she said, showing a third application, their daughter has special needs. They need help buying a van so she can get to her medical appointments. Maria shook her head. So many people suffering. How do you handle it? Because of the good stories, Keisha said, like Diego, like Rebecca getting her degree, like Mr. Chen staying healthy. Every time we help someone, their whole life changes. Keisha's computer chimed with a new email. It was from Elon Musk. Keisha, great news. We just got approval to open our second foundation office in Dallas. Can you hire and train someone to run it? Also, the board approved my proposal to expand to 10 cities by next year. Your kindness is spreading faster than we imagined. Elon, more good news, Keisha told Maria. We're opening our second office in Dallas. That's wonderful. You're really changing the world. We're all changing the world. Every person we help goes on to help others. Rebecca, the electrician? She's now mentoring other single mothers who want to learn trades. Mr. Chen volunteers at the senior center, helping other elderly people apply for medical assistance. Keisha walked to her window and looked out at the city. That's what Elon taught me. Kindness doesn't just help one person. It spreads, like ripples in a pond. Diego had gotten bored with the adult conversation and was drawing pictures at a small table Keisha kept for visiting children. He held up his drawing. Look, it's you helping my mom. The drawing showed 2 stick figures shaking hands. One was labeled Miss Keisha, and the other was labeled Mama. Hearts floated around both figures. That's beautiful, Diego. Can I keep it? Yes, I made it special for you. Keisha pinned the drawing to her bulletin board next to thank you cards from dozens of other families. You know what the best part of this job is? Keisha asked Maria. What? I get to be the person I needed when I was struggling. 6 months ago, I was broke and scared. I was about to lose everything. If there had been a Floki Foundation then, I would have applied for help. And now you're the one deciding who gets help. Exactly. I know what it feels like to count every dollar, to choose between rent and groceries, to lie awake at night worrying about money. When I read these applications, I understand the fear behind them. Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Baby, I saw the news story about the foundation on TV. So proud of you. Dad would be proud too. I have to learn something new every day, Keisha continued. How to spot fake applications, how to work with hospitals and schools, how to manage budgets. But the most important skill I already had. What's that? How to see when someone is really hurting. How to listen with my heart, not just my ears. As Maria and Diego prepared to leave, Maria hugged Keisha one more time. "I have a question," Maria said. "Do you ever miss working at the diner?" Keisha laughed. "I miss the simple parts. I miss talking to regular people every day. I miss the feeling of serving someone a good meal." "But not Morrison?" "No, definitely not Morrison. Although—" Keisha paused. "I heard something interesting about him last week." "What?" "His business is struggling. 2 of his 3 diners closed down. Turns out, when people saw that video of him firing me, they stopped eating at his restaurants." "Good," Maria said firmly. "He deserved that." "Maybe. But you know what? If he applied to the foundation for help, I would consider it. That's what this job has taught me. Everyone deserves a second chance." After Maria and Diego left, Keisha returned to her desk. She had 12 more applications to review before the end of the day. 12 more chances to change someone's life. She opened the first application. A young father whose wife had cancer. He needed help paying for childcare while she was in treatment. As Keisha read his story, she thought about that night in Rosie's diner. She had given 1 piece of pie to 1 sad man. Now, 6 months later, 500 families had been helped. Thousands of people had better lives. The most expensive piece of pie in history was still working its magic. 1 year after that fateful night at Rosie's diner, Keisha was reviewing foundation applications when her phone rang. The caller ID showed St. David's Hospital. "Hello, this is Keisha Washington." "Ms. Washington, this is Dr. Martinez from St. David's. We have a patient here who asked us to call you. His name is Frank Morrison." Keisha's heart stopped. Morrison, her old boss who had fired her for showing kindness. "Is he okay?" she asked, surprised by her own concern. "He had a heart attack yesterday. He's stable now, but he's asking to speak with you. He says it's important." Keisha stared out her office window. She could refuse this call. Morrison had fired her and tried to shame her online. He had shown her no mercy when she begged for her job. But that wasn't who she was. "I'll be there in an hour," she said. The drive to the hospital gave Keisha time to think. She hadn't seen Morrison since the day he fired her. She had heard his business was failing. People stopped eating at his diners after the video went viral. 2 of his 3 restaurants had closed. Part of her felt bad for him. Another part of her felt like justice had been served. At the hospital, Keisha found Morrison in room 314. He looked smaller than she remembered, older, scared. Machines beeped around his bed. He was alone. "Keisha," he said when he saw her. His voice was weak. "You came." "How are you feeling, Mr. Morrison?" "Like I'm dying." "Maybe I am." He tried to sit up in bed but couldn't. "The doctors say I need surgery. Something about blocked arteries." Keisha sat in the chair next to his bed. "Do you have insurance?" Morrison laughed bitterly. "I lost my insurance when I lost my business. I can't afford this surgery. The hospital wants $150,000. What about your family? Your friends?" "I don't have many of either left. I spent so many years being angry at everyone that I pushed them all away." Morrison looked at Keisha with tears in his eyes. "I know I have no right to ask you this, not after what I did to you, but I don't have anyone else. What do you need, Mr. Morrison? I heard about your foundation, about how you help people who can't afford medical bills. I know it's crazy, but I was hoping—" He couldn't finish the sentence. Keisha was quiet for a long moment. This man had destroyed her life over a piece of pie. He had fired her for showing compassion. He had tried to embarrass her on social media. Now he was asking her for help. "Tell me what happened to Your restaurants, she said. Morrison closed his eyes. After that video went viral, everything fell apart. People were angry at me for firing you. They said I was heartless. They stopped coming to eat. I tried to explain my side of the story, but nobody listened. They only saw a mean boss firing, a kind employee, which, I guess, is exactly what happened. The first restaurant closed 6 months ago. The second one closed last month. I still have one left, but it's barely staying open. Morrison looked directly at Keisha. I lost everything because I fired you for being a good person. The universe has a sense of humor, doesn't it? What happened to the other employees, like Maria? I had to let most of them go when business got bad. Maria found another job. Thankwes. God, she has kids to feed. Keisha thought about Maria's son Diego, running around healthy after his heart surgery. The surgery paid for by the foundation. Mr. Morrison, can I ask you something? Anything. If you could do that night over again, what would you do differently? Morrison was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was full of regret. Everything. I would do everything differently. I was so angry at the world back then. My wife had left me the year before. My business was struggling. I felt like everyone was taking advantage of me. When I saw you sitting with that customer, giving away free food, I saw it as another person stealing from me. I didn't see it as kindness. I didn't see it as you helping another human being. Morrison wiped his eyes. I was wrong about everything, Keisha. You were the best employee I ever had. You cared about people. You worked hard. You made customers happy. And I fired you for having a good heart. Keisha felt her own eyes getting watery. This broken man in the hospital bed wasn't the angry boss she remembered. He was just another person who had made mistakes and was paying for them. I need to make some phone calls, she said, standing up. I'll be back. Keisha went to the hospital cafeteria and called Elon Musk. Keisha, how are you? I was just thinking about the foundation. The Dallas office is doing amazing work. Elon, I need to ask you about something. It's complicated. She told him about Morrison's situation, about the heart attack, the medical bills, and the request for help. This is the man who fired you? Elon asked. Yes, and I know it sounds crazy, but I think we should help him. Tell me why. Keisha thought carefully about her answer. Because that's who we are. That's what the foundation represents. We help people who are desperate, regardless of their past mistakes. And because I've learned something this past year, kindness isn't just for people who deserve it. Sometimes it's most powerful when we give it to people who don't deserve it. Elon's was quiet for a moment. You know, Keisha, this is exactly why I wanted you to run this foundation. You see things I don't see, so you'll approve it? I'll do more than that. I want to meet this Mr. Morrison myself. 2 hours later, Elon Musk walked into Morrison's hospital room. Morrison's eyes went wide when he saw the famous billionaire. Mr. Morrison, Elon said, sitting down. I'm Elon Musk. I believe you know my friend Keisha. Morrison looked confused. I don't understand. Why are you here? Because Keisha asked me to come. She thinks you're worth saving, even after what you did to her. I'm not, Morrison said. I don't deserve her help. Maybe not, Elon agreed, but that's not how kindness works. Kindness isn't about what people deserve. It's about who we choose to be. Elon leaned forward. The Floki Foundation will pay for your surgery, Mr. Morrison. All of it. Morrison started crying. I can't believe this. Why would you help me? Because Keisha taught me something important. She taught me that one moment of compassion can change everything. You fired her for showing compassion. Now she's showing you compassion in return. But there's a condition, Elon continued. Morrison wiped his eyes. What? After you recover, I want you to work for the foundation. We need someone to manage our restaurant partnerships. Someone who understands the food service industry. You want me to work for the foundation? The foundation I tried to hurt? People deserve second chances, Mr. Morrison. Even people who make big mistakes. Keisha spoke up. We're opening a program to help struggling small business owners, restaurant owners, shop owners, people who are failing through no fault of their own. You could help us identify who really needs assistance. Morrison looked back and forth between Keisha and Elon. You're offering me a job after I fired you? I'm offering you a chance to turn your life around, Keisha said. A chance to help people instead of hurting them. A chance to be part of something bigger than yourself, Elon added. Morrison closed his eyes and took a deep breath. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Keisha said. Say you'll use this second chance to make things right. Yes, Morrison whispered. Yes, I'll do whatever you want. I'll spend the rest of my life making up for what I did to you. 3 weeks later, Morrison had successful heart surgery. The foundation paid every penny of the $150,000 bill. While he recovered, he spent his time reading foundation applications and learning about their mission. A month after the surgery, Morrison started his new job. He worked with restaurant owners who were struggling to stay in business. He helped them apply for foundation assistance. He taught them about treating employees with respect. I tell every business owner the same thing, Morrison told Keisha during one of their weekly meetings. Treat your workers like human beings, because you never know when one small act of kindness might change the world. And if they don't listen? Keisha asked. Morrison smiled. I tell them about a waitress named Keisha Washington. I tell them about the most expensive piece of pie in history. I tell them that kindness always wins in the end. Sitting in her office, looking at pictures of all the families they had helped, Keisha realized something amazing had happened. The man who had tried to destroy her life had become one of her strongest allies in changing the world. That was the real magic of the foundation. It didn't just help people in need. It transformed everyone it touched, including the people who worked there, even the people who had once been enemies. 2 years after helping Elon Musk at Rosie's Diner, Keisha got a phone call that would change everything again. Keisha, this is Sarah Chen. Can you come to Tesla headquarters immediately? Mr. Musk has a surprise for you. Is everything okay? Keisha asked. She was at the foundation office, reviewing applications for their new scholarship program. Everything is perfect. Just come as soon as you can. And bring your mother if she's still visiting from Detroit. Keisha's mother, Dorothy, had flown in for the weekend to see her daughter's work. She was amazed by how much Keisha's life had changed. The successful career, the beautiful apartment, the important work helping families. What do you think this is about? Dorothy asked as they drove to Tesla. I have no idea, Mom. Elon loves surprises, but this feels different. Sarah sounded really excited. When they arrived at Tesla, dozens of employees were waiting outside. They were all smiling and holding signs. Some signs said, "Thank you, Keisha." Others said, "Kindness changes everything." Elon Musk stood at the front of the crowd with the biggest smile Keisha had ever seen on his face. "Keisha," he called out, "come with me. I have something to show you." He led Keisha and her mother around the side of the building. There, covered by a giant blue tarp, was something huge. It looked like a building under construction. "Are you ready?" Elon asked. Keisha nodded. her heart beating fast. Elon pulled a rope, and the tarp fell away. Keisha gasped. In front of her was a beautiful new building with glass walls and a green roof. Above the entrance, carved in stone, were the words, "The Keisha Washington Center for Human Kindness, future home of the Floki Foundation." Keisha couldn't speak. She just stared at the building with her name on it. "This is yours," Elon said. "The foundation's new headquarters, but it's more than just offices." He handed her a folder with architectural plans. "The first floor will be a free medical clinic. The second floor will be job training classrooms. The third floor will be foundation offices. And the fourth floor will be an emergency shelter for families who have nowhere else to go." Dorothy started crying happy tears. "Baby, they built you a whole building." "It's not just a building," Elon said. "It's a symbol of what one moment of kindness can create." Sarah Chen appeared with a golden ribbon and giant scissors. "Would you like to cut the ribbon, Keisha?" "I can't believe this is real," Keisha whispered. As more people gathered around, Keisha recognized faces from the past 2 years. Maria was there with Diego, now healthy and strong. Morrison was there, looking proud and grateful. Janet from the eBay Tesla cafeteria. Jasmine, her best friend. Dozens of families the foundation had helped. But then Elon brought out the biggest surprise of all. He walked to his car and opened the door. Out jumped a small golden retriever puppy with a red bow around his neck. "Keisha, meet Floki Jr.," Elon said, handing her the puppy. The puppy licked Keisha's face and wagged his tail. He was adorable and full of energy, nothing like the sad man she had met 2 years ago. "I wasn't ready for another dog until I met you," Elon said. "You taught me that love doesn't die when we lose someone. It grows when we share it with others." Keisha held the puppy close to her chest. "He's beautiful, Elon, but I can't take your dog. He's not my dog. He's the Foundation's dog, the official Floki Foundation therapy dog. He'll live here at the center and help comfort families who are going through hard times, just like you comforted me that night." As Keisha prepared to cut the ribbon, Elon asked everyone to gather around. "Before we celebrate," he said, "I want to tell you all something about the night I met Keisha. Something I've never told anyone." Tuthipui, crowd grew quiet. 2 years ago, I went to Rosie's Diner on the worst night of my life. Yes, I had lost my beloved dog Floki. But there was something else, something bigger. Elon looked directly at Keisha. That night, I had made a decision. I was going to step down as CEO of Tesla and SpaceX. I was going to quit everything and walk away. Keisha's eyes went wide. She had no idea. I felt like I had lost touch with why I started these companies. I wanted to help humanity, but I felt like I was just making rich people richer. I was discouraged. I was ready to give up on everything. The crowd was silent, hanging on every word. I went to that diner to have one last meal before I announced my retirement. I was going to quit Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, all of it. I was done. Morrison stepped forward. "You were going to quit because you lost hope in people?" "Exactly. I felt like kindness was dead, like nobody cared about anyone else anymore." Elon turned back to Keisha. "But then a waitress sat down with me. She didn't know who I was. She didn't know how much money I had. She just saw someone who was hurting and decided to help. In that moment, you restored my faith in humanity. You reminded me that good people still exist, that kindness is still alive." The crowd began to understand the full impact of what had happened. Keisha Washington didn't just lose her job for helping me, Elon continued. She saved Tesla. She saved SpaceX. She saved every mission to Mars we'll ever launch. She saved every electric car we'll ever build. People in the crowd started crying. They realized that Keisha's simple act of kindness had saved thousands of jobs and humanity's dreams of space exploration. If she hadn't sat with me that night, I would have quit the next day. Tesla would have been sold to another company. SpaceX would have been shut down. Thousands of people would have lost their jobs. Elon's voice got emotional. One piece of pie and 1 hour of conversation saved my life's work. And now, through this foundation, Keisha is teaching all of us how to save each other. The crowd erupted in applause. People were crying and cheering at the same time. Morrison spoke up. "I fired the woman who saved Tesla?" "You fired the woman who saved the future," Elon said. "Which is why this foundation exists, to make sure good people like Keisha are never punished for having good hearts," Maria shouted from the crowd. "Keisha saved my son's life." "She saved all our lives," called out Rebecca Johnson, the electrician. "She saved my marriage," yelled Mr. Chen, the diabetic man. As the cheering continued, Keisha looked around at all the faces. Hundreds of people whose lives were better because she chose to be kind to a stranger. She thought about that scared waitress 2 years ago, worried about paying rent and helping her mother. She never could have imagined that one moment of compassion would create all of this. A foundation helping thousands of families. A building with her name on it. Companies that would change the world continuing their missions. Jobs saved. Dreams protected. All because she saw someone crying and decided to help. Dorothy put her arm around her daughter. "I told you good things happen to good people." Keisha cut the ribbon as cameras flashed and people cheered. Floki Jr. barked excitedly in her arms. As the crowd toured the new building, Elon pulled Keisha aside. "There's one more thing," he said. "Elon, this is already too much. Remember when you told me that night that you wanted to be a nurse?" "Yes." "Well, you graduate from nursing school next month, and I have a job offer for you." He handed her an envelope. "I want you to be the head nurse at our new medical clinic here in the building. You'd run the free health care program while still managing the foundation." Keisha opened the envelope. The salary was more money than she had ever dreamed of making. "You'd be healing people with medicine and healing families with kindness," Elon said. "Everything you ever wanted to do." Keisha looked at the building, the crowd, the puppy in her arms, and her proud mother standing nearby. 2 years ago, she lost her job for giving away a piece of pie. Today, she had her own building, her dream career, and the power to change thousands of lives. The most expensive piece of pie in history had paid the ultimate dividend. At the building dedication ceremony, Elon Musk walked to the microphone one more time. The crowd had been celebrating for an hour, but he had something important to say. "Ladies and gentlemen, please gather around. I need to tell you something about that night at Rosie's Diner. The complete truth about what Keisha's kindness really saved." The crowd grew quiet. Even Keisha looked surprised. She thought she had heard the whole story already. 2 years ago, I told you I was planning to quit my companies. That's true, but I didn't tell you everything. Elon looked out at the hundreds of people listening. Workers from Tesla, families helped by the foundation, reporters, and city officials. On the night I met Keisha, I wasn't just sad about losing Floki. I wasn't just discouraged about my work. I was having what doctors call a mental health crisis. The crowd was completely silent now. For months, I had been working 100 hours a week, sleeping 3 hours a night, barely eating. The stress of running multiple companies was destroying Me. Elon's voice got quieter. That day, my doctor told me I was heading for a complete breakdown. My assistant Sarah found me crying in my office. My friends were worried I might hurt myself. Sarah Chen, standing near the front, nodded sadly. She remembered that terrible time. I drove to that diner because I couldn't stand being alone with my thoughts anymore. I was in the darkest place of my life. I felt like I had failed at everything that mattered. Dorothy Washington, Keisha's mother, put her hand over her heart. She understood the pain he was describing. I sat in that booth feeling completely hopeless. I was thinking about all the people who depended on me. The 50,000 Tesla employees, the 5,000 SpaceX employees, the millions of people who believed in electric cars and space exploration. I felt like I was letting everyone down, like I wasn't strong enough to carry the responsibility. Morrison stepped forward. You were going to quit because you felt overwhelmed? Worse than that, Elon said. I was thinking about permanent solutions to temporary problems. The crowd gasped. They understood what he meant. Then this waitress sat down across from me. She didn't try to fix my problems. She didn't give me advice. She just listened. She saw my pain and chose to sit with me in it. Elon looked directly at Keisha. You probably don't remember, but after we talked about our dogs, I asked you a question. I asked you how you kept going when life got hard. Keisha did remember. You said your work felt impossible sometimes. And what did you tell me? Keisha thought back to that night. I told you that I take things one day at a time. One person at a time. One small act of kindness at a time. Exactly. You said, I can't save the whole world, but I can help one person have a better day. And maybe that person will help someone else. That's how change really happens. The crowd was hanging on every word. In that moment, you gave me the answer I needed. You reminded me that changing the world doesn't happen through big dramatic gestures. It happens through small acts of love, repeated over and over. Elon's voice got stronger. You saved my life. That night, Keisha. Not just my career, my actual life. People in the crowd started crying. They realized the true miracle wasn't just about saving companies. It was about saving a human being who was drowning in despair. The next morning, I went to therapy for the first time in my life. I started taking medication for anxiety and depression. I learned how to ask for help when I was struggling. I'm still in therapy today. I still take medication. Because you taught me that getting help isn't weakness. It's how we take care of ourselves, so we can take care of others. Maria spoke up from the crowd. So when you helped all of us through the foundation, you were also helping yourself. Yes. Every family we help reminds me why this work matters. Every person who gets a second chance reminds me that I deserved a second chance too. Elon turned back to Keisha. You didn't just give me pie and coffee that night. You gave me hope. You showed me that people still care about strangers. That kindness isn't dead. Most importantly, you showed me that I wasn't alone. That even the most powerful people in the world sometimes need someone to sit with them and listen. Diego, Maria's son, raised his small hand. Mr. Musk, does that mean Miss Keisha saved Tesla and my heart? Elon smiled. Yes, Diego. Miss Keisha saved a lot of hearts, including mine. The crowd erupted in applause again, but this time it was different. It was deeper, more emotional. They understood now that this wasn't just a business success story. It was a story about mental health, human connection, and the power of showing up for each other. Dr. Martinez from the hospital stepped forward. Mr. Musk, Thank you for sharing that. Mental health affects millions of people. Hearing you talk about therapy and medication will help others get the help they need. That's exactly why I wanted to tell the truth, Elon said. Success doesn't protect you from mental illness. Money doesn't cure depression. But human connection can save your life. Jasmine, Keisha's best friend, was crying. Keisha always knew how to help people feel better. Even in high school, she was the one everyone came to when they were sad. And that's the real miracle, Elon continued. Keisha didn't have special training in mental health. She didn't have a degree in psychology. She just had something more powerful than any education. "What's that?" asked Rebecca Johnson, the electrician. She had a heart that recognized pain and chose to respond with love. Elon walked over to Keisha and put his hand on her shoulder. "You know what the doctors told me after 6 months of therapy?" "What?" "They said the turning point in my recovery was that night at the diner. When I told them about a waitress who sat with me and listened, they said that was the moment I started believing in human goodness again. That was the moment I started believing I was worth saving." The crowd was quiet, absorbing the full impact of what they had heard. Morrison spoke up. "So when I fired Keisha, I was firing the woman who prevented one of the world's most important innovators from—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "Yes," Elon said simply, "which is why this foundation exists. To make sure people like Keisha are protected and celebrated, not punished. To make sure that kindness is rewarded, not fired." Keisha finally spoke up. "Elon, I had no idea you were struggling so much that night. I just saw someone who was sad about losing their dog. And that's exactly why it mattered so much. You didn't help me because I was famous or rich. You helped me because I was a human, being in pain. You treated me like your neighbor, like your friend, like someone who mattered." Elon looked out at the crowd one last time. The Keisha Washington Center for Human Kindness isn't just named after one person. It's named after an idea. The idea that we all have the power to save each other, that every conversation matters, every moment of compassion matters, every time we choose to sit with someone in their pain instead of walking away. Keisha taught me that heroes don't wear capes. They wear aprons and serve coffee and choose love over indifference. As the ceremony ended and people began to tour the new building, Keisha stood quietly with her mother and Floki Jr. "How do you feel, baby?" Dorothy asked. "Overwhelmed, grateful, and a little scared." "Scared of what?" "Of living up to this, of being worthy of all this attention." Dorothy smiled and hugged her daughter. "You already are worthy. You were worthy that night in the diner when nobody knew your name. You're worthy now, and you'll be worthy tomorrow when you help the next person who needs it." Keisha looked at the building with her name on it. Inside, hundreds of families would get medical care, job training, and emergency help, all because she chose to sit with a stranger and listen to his pain. She thought about the ripple effect still spreading out from that one moment. Tesla continuing to build electric cars, SpaceX preparing to send humans to Mars, thousands of employees keeping their jobs, millions of people benefiting from technologies that almost disappeared. But most importantly, she thought about Elon Musk getting the help he needed to stay alive. That was the real miracle, not the building or the foundation or the recognition. The real miracle was that kindness had saved a life, and that life had gone on to touch millions of others. The most expensive piece of pie in history had paid the ultimate dividend: hope. 5 years later, Keisha Washington stood in the lobby of the Keisha Washington Center for Human Kindness. The building was busy with activity. Families waited in the medical clinic. Students attended job training classes. Foundation workers helped people apply for assistance. Keisha wore scrubs now. She was a registered nurse and the director of the foundation's medical programs. Every day, she split her time between treating patients and helping families get the support they needed. The foundation had grown beyond anyone's dreams. There were now centers in 20 cities across America. They had helped over 50,000 families. The mental health program, started after Elon's revelation, had saved hundreds of lives. "Dr. Washington?" called a young voice. Keisha turned to see Maria's son, Diego, now 13 years old and volunteering at the center after school. He was healthy and strong, with no signs of his old heart problems. "I'm not a doctor yet, Diego, just a nurse. You're starting medical school next month, so you'll be a doctor soon. Can you help someone? There's a woman in the clinic who's really upset." Keisha followed Diego to the medical clinic. In the waiting room sat a young woman about 25 years old. She was crying and holding a baby. Her clothes were worn, and she looked exhausted. "Ma'am, I'm Keisha Washington. How can I help you?" The woman looked up with desperate eyes. "My baby is sick, but I don't have insurance. The emergency room said it would cost $5,000 just to run tests. I don't have that kind of money." Keisha sat down next to her. "What's your name?" "Angela. Angela Martinez. This is my daughter, Sophia." "Tell me what's happening with Sophia." "She's been crying for 3 days. She won't eat. She has a fever. I think something is seriously wrong, but I can't afford to find out what." Keisha looked at the baby. Sophia was listless and pale. This was clearly a medical emergency. "Angela, listen to me. We're going to take care of Sophia right now. Our clinic has everything we need to help her. But I can't pay." "You don't need to pay. That's why we're here." Keisha called Dr. Rodriguez, the center's pediatrician. Within minutes, they were examining Sophia. The baby had a serious infection that needed immediate treatment. "If you had waited much longer, this could have been dangerous," Dr. Rodriguez told Angela. "But we caught it in time. Sophia is going to be fine." As they treated the baby with antibiotics, Angela broke down crying again. "I was so scared. I thought I was going to lose her. I'm a single mother with no family. I didn't know where else to go." "You came to the right place," Keisha said. "This is exactly why we exist." While Sophia recovered, Keisha learned Angela's story. She had lost her job 6 months ago. Her boyfriend left when she got pregnant. She was living in a shelter and trying to find work while caring for her baby. "Angela, we have more than just medical help. We have job training programs, child care assistance, and emergency housing. Would you like to hear about them? You would help me with all of that?" "That's what we do. We help families get back on their feet." 3 hours later, Sophia was healthy and sleeping peacefully. Angela had signed up for the center's computer training program and applied for emergency housing assistance. "I don't know how to thank you," Angela said. "Just pay it forward someday," Keisha replied. "When you're doing better, help someone else who needs it." As Angela left with her healthy baby, Keisha felt the same joy she had felt as a waitress, making customers happy. Helping people would always be her calling. Morrison appeared at her side. He was now 62 years old and the foundation's director of business partnerships. His heart surgery had been successful, and he was healthier than he had been in years. "Another life saved," he said, watching Angela walk out with Sophia. "Another family given hope," Keisha agreed. "You know, I've been thinking about something. That night at Rosie's diner, when I fired you? Frank, we've talked about this. You don't need to keep apologizing. No, let me finish. I've been wondering what would have happened if I hadn't fired you. Keisha looked at him curiously. What do you mean? If I had been a better boss. If I had praised you for helping that customer instead of firing you. Would any of this have happened? Keisha thought about it. I don't know. Maybe Elon would have just gone home that night and never told anyone about our conversation. Exactly. Your firing was what made the story go viral. It was my cruelty that showed the world your kindness. Morrison looked around the busy center. Maybe I was supposed to fire you. Maybe that was my role in this story. To be the villain that made everyone see how special you are. I don't think there are villains in this story, Frank. Just people learning and growing. You've changed me. Completely, you know. I used to think kindness was weakness. Now I know it's the strongest force in the world. That evening, Keisha sat in her office reviewing the day's impact. The center had treated 47 patients, enrolled 12 people in job training, and provided emergency assistance to 8 families. In 5 years, they had become a model for community care that other cities were copying. Her computer chimed with a video call from Elon Musk. He was calling from SpaceX headquarters in California. Keisha, how was your day? Wonderful. We helped a baby with a serious infection. Her mother is starting our job training program next week. That's amazing. I have some news to share with you. Elon's face lit up with excitement. We just got approval from NASA for our Mars mission. The first human crew will launch in 2 years. That's incredible, Elon. Congratulations! I wanted you to be the first to know because none of this would exist without you. SpaceX, the Mars mission, everything we've built. It all started with a piece of pie and a conversation about hope. Keisha smiled. Are you still in therapy? Every week. And Floki Jr. comes with me sometimes. He's a certified therapy dog. Now, you know. They talked for a few more minutes about the Foundation's expansion plans and Keisha's upcoming medical school studies. Before ending the call, Elon said something that made Keisha's heart full. You know what I told my therapist yesterday? What? I told her that meeting you taught me the difference between surviving and living. Before that night, I was just surviving. Now I'm really living. After the call ended, Keisha walked through the quiet center. Night shift nurses were caring for patients, security guards were helping late visitors, cleaning staff were preparing for tomorrow's busy day. She stopped at the wall where they displayed thank you letters from families they had helped. Thousands of letters from people whose lives were changed by the Foundation's work. One letter caught her eye. It was from a teenage boy named Marcus, whose father had been helped by their job training program. Dear Miss Keisha, my dad lost his job last year and was really sad. He thought he was too old to learn new things. But your foundation taught him computers, and now he has a great job. He smiles again. Thank you for giving me my dad back. Marcus, age 14, Keisha wiped away tears. This was why she did this work. Not for the building with her name on it, or the recognition. For moments like this, for families staying together, for hope being restored. She walked to the window and looked out at Austin. The city sparkled with lights. People were driving home from work, going to dinner, living their lives. Many of them had no idea that a conversation in a diner 5 years ago had shaped their world. Tesla cars drove silently down the streets, helping save the planet. SpaceX rockets prepared to take humans to Mars. The Foundation centers across the country helped families every day. all because one waitress chose to sit with a stranger in pain. Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Proud of you every day, baby. Dad would be proud too. Love you." Then a text from Diego. "Miss Keisha, I want to be a doctor like you when I grow up. Thank you for saving my life." Another text from Angela. "Sophia is perfect. Starting computer class Monday. You changed our lives today." As Keisha prepared to leave for the day, she thought about the young woman she used to be, the scared waitress who worried about paying rent and helping her mother. That woman could never have imagined this life. She thought about all the people who had been part of this journey: Maria and Diego, Morrison and his second chance, her mother's unwavering faith, Jasmine's loyal friendship, Elon's vulnerability and trust. Most of all, she thought about that moment in Rosie's diner, the moment when she chose to see another person's pain and respond with love instead of walking away. It was the simplest decision in the world. Sit with someone who was hurting. Listen to their story. Offer what comfort you could. But that simple decision had created ripples that spread across the globe. Companies saved. Lives protected. Families helped. Hope restored. As Keisha drove home through the Austin night, she passed the empty lot where Rosie's diner used to stand. The old building was gone, replaced by a small park with a bench and a plaque. She pulled over to read the plaque one more time. In memory of Rosie's diner, where kindness changed the world. On this spot, February 15, 2024, waitress Keisha Washington chose compassion over indifference, changing not just one life, but thousands. May we all remember that every moment of human connection matters. Keisha sat on the bench for a few minutes, thinking about how far she had come. Tomorrow, she would help more families. Next month, she would start medical school. Next year, the foundation would open in 5 more cities. But tonight, she was just grateful. Grateful for the chance to help. Grateful for the people who had supported her. Grateful for a universe that seemed to reward kindness with even more opportunities to be kind. The most expensive piece of pie in history had paid the ultimate dividend. Not just money or success or recognition. It had paid in lives saved, hope restored, and love multiplied beyond measure. And the payment would continue forever, spreading from person to person, family to family, generation to generation. Because that's what kindness does. It never stops giving returns. That was the end of this incredible journey about how one moment of kindness changed the world. Keisha Washington's simple act of compassion not only saved Elon Musk's life, but also preserved Tesla, SpaceX, and created a foundation that has helped over 50,000 families. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. It's amazing to see how tales of kindness reach people all around the globe. If this touched your heart and reminded you of the power we all have to make a difference, please give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. We share inspiring true accounts, like this one every week, that will restore your faith in humanity. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. In a world that often feels divided, we need more examples that remind us of our shared humanity. Help us spread kindness and awareness by sharing Keisha's experience with someone who needs to hear it today. Remember, you never know when your small act of kindness might change someone's entire life. Just like Keisha, you have the power to be someone's miracle. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.